Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again with Sam Silverstein for another episode. Welcome back, Sam.
Hey, Tom, it's good to be here again, having a great conversation as always.
Sam, how or where do you see companies achieve success in culture and how do they sustain it?
Boy, you just love to ask these questions that incite me sometimes. And this is one that really gets me because all organizations have the opportunity to create a great culture, but not all of them do it. And so what happens is leaders get in the way of themselves. The ones that do the best work are the ones where the leaders get it. They get it, meaning they understand that it's all about valuing people. And if people feel valued, then they'll move heaven and earth to hit the objectives, take care of the KPIs, make sure the bottom line looks good, keep the office clean, whatever it is that needs to be done. And then there's other leaders that think they get it and they want to have a great culture, but they're coming up short. And so when we work with clients to help them with their culture, we've seen situations where a leader that really valued people, a high level of emotional intelligence, and the ability to communicate with and connect with people, but maybe didn't know how to structure a workplace culture, design the culture, and then create an environment that is supporting that culture so that 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, they can stay on track with this culture and build an organization based on the culture being at the very core, not a product or service. Because if the culture is at the very core, that's going to sustain you over time. It's going to set you up for mergers, acquisitions, growth, all sorts of really positive things. So those leaders, they're never a problem. They value people, they get it. Then there's other leaders that they say they want this, but they cave the first time they run into some sort of challenge. So we've seen organizations that will help them define their culture through their values and come up with a very detailed set of values, which is the definition of the culture, or supposed to be. And then within a week, something happens and they make a decision that doesn't align with what they say they believe, the values, and then the whole project goes out the window. Or we see organizations where they go through this entire process and then the number one lets the number two subvert it because the number two didn't get the values written the way they want it. Tom, this is always about senior leadership. It's always about leadership at the very highest point.
Once leadership makes this decision and brings in you and utilize a culture audit or a culture survey, can they use that same strategy or that same tool even to continually assess where they are and what might need to be upgraded, remediated, or even tweaked, if I can use that word?
That's the whole idea. See, this isn't about manipulating people to get what you want. It's about creating a place that you want to be a part of and that you're proud of and that you want other people to want to be a part of. It's not about hiring someone to do a job. It's about creating an environment that makes sense where people appreciate each other. And so the best way to do that is to evaluate what you have, do some sort of audit, and then from there, you can very easily see what you need to change or fix or bolster in order to get where you want to be or maintain what you have if it's already there. But the leader, it's always going to come down to, and from where we stand, the leader caring about people.
Okay, I'm back. Sam, one of the things you've made clear is that the assessment of your culture is not a one and done, that it needs to be assessed at regular basis. And if you assess at regular basis, how can you use that information if you've set a baseline?
Oh, that's a great question, Tom. Once you have done a culture audit and you have the basis, not only do you know where you are, not only can you calculate how to get to where you want to go to, but you have something to measure against so that at the end of a year, you can run that assessment again. You can look at what's changed, what hasn't changed. You know where you've invested time, energy, resources. Now it's just a matter of fine tuning. And so then wash, rinse, and repeat. So now you know where you are at the end of the year. What are we going to focus on this year? Where are we coming up short? Where are we hitting the bullseye? And let's create a plan, and then let's execute that plan over the next 12 months, because we know 12 months from now, we're going to run this audit again, and we're going to look at the culture, and we're going to see the improvement that we've made. And when you go from year to year like that, and all you have to do is make small improvements each year, but those improvements compound, then over time, you're going to create an incredible culture that's high performance, sustainable, attracting and retaining the best people.
You said a couple of things in there I really want to follow up on. The first one is compound. I just did a paper around the ROI of compliance, and I talked about compounding percentage increases and how that can increase. Can that same concept translate over to culture? Can you actually have a baseline, have a growth of 10% and compound that growth on some annual basis?
Well, of course you can. And that's why that learning curve tilts upward. That's the arc that you're on. It's 1%, 1%, 1%. But as the compounding comes in, it starts to go up. And so it's the same as money. The interest you earn today is not that much. The interest you earn this month isn't that much. This year, it's a little bit better. But next year, if you can earn the same return, not only do you get the return on the original, but you get the return on the growth. Why wouldn't it work that way with culture? Why wouldn't it work that way with training your people? That's why motion and it accelerates. That's how you create acceleration. You're not just going at the same speed, you're actually accelerating. And so the culture is also accelerating.
Then how about we've talked about using the culture assessment to create a baseline. What's the importance of documentation in an overall culture assessment and culture improvement?
You want to, first of all, if there's anything that goes on from a legal standpoint, and you can document where your culture is and what's working, and you can show that, you have a basis of defense. Not only do you show that you care about your culture, you show you know where your culture is, and you show that you built a program that's designed to make the culture better, and all this is documented. That's a very powerful place to be. But beyond the legal ramifications, doggone it, I want my company to be better. And so without that specific information, I'm throwing darts and I'm taking guesses. And if you're not a culture expert, a real culture expert, you really don't have an understanding of what's going on in that organization. You may think you do, and you may think I've been around this company for 20 years, I know what's going on. But the reality is when we do a culture audit for someone, I can't tell you how often it comes back and they go, wow, I knew we had a communication issue, but I didn't realize it was to this degree or something like that.
And would it be fair to say if you can measure it, you can study it, and if you can study it and improve even in the arena of culture?
Absolutely. What's measured is treasured, or what's treasured is measured, or whichever way you want to look at that, Tom. The idea is if it's important, you want to know what's going on and you want to improve on it. And it's data. It's factual. And so right away, we know what to do. And right away, we can see the improvements that we're making because we can measure that. And we can share that with the people and we can celebrate that. And that's an important part about creating a high performance, sustainable culture. Celebration is one of the steps in doing that. We don't know to celebrate sometimes unless we have the data that shows, wow, you have the anecdotal data, you know what it feels like, but when you can show it in black and white, boy, that does feel good.
That is something we have not explored, this celebration. Could you say maybe a few more words on how you would actually celebrate? Should it be an employee town hall? Should it be a gift? Should it be an acknowledgement by a CEO? How, or maybe all of the above?
Yes, that's exactly it. Celebration is, I believe you celebrate big things and you celebrate little things and everything in between. And celebration can be as much as you coming into my office, Tom, and patting me on the back and say, wow, that report you filed made a difference and you did a great job. Way to go, Sam. That could be a celebration. When you take the culture audit at the end of the year and the numbers are all up, that could be a celebration that's department-wide, organization-wide. When the organization hits goals and objectives, that can be celebrated. So often we celebrate these milestones of numbers of productivity, profitability, geography. We opened a new store. Why not celebrate the success of the culture? Why not celebrate every win that can be traced back to your unique culture? Because when you start doing that, and people realize that culture matters to you as the leader, and it's going to matter to them as well.
Sam, I can't think of a better way to end this podcast. I look forward to continuing this conversation.
I can't wait, Tom.